It is the Fantasy Sanctuary Best Ball Show with myself and Tyler. And before we get into a draft, there's one or two things that we need to talk about this week. Tyler, like, free agency is always fun. It's always one of my most favorite times of the year. But, like, do you remember one that caused as much chaos as this one?
No, I mean like we've had big names sign, we've had like world-shattering movement, but we have never had one with this much drama. My God. And I remember the fax machine faux pas,
Oh, man.
and like this the drama has been insane. We're truly in like NBA times of madness. It's for those of us bored, and I'm not, but I mean,
Oh,
fantastic
yeah.
content.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even literally just before we came on air, just there, as Amiga's kind of pointing out, JJ McCarthy's funeral, like Kyler Murray signs in Minnesota. Yes, it's the vet min, $1.3 million, but do you think there's any path to JJ McCarthy being better than Kyler Murray this year?
No, absolutely not. The only reason why Kyler was benched last year was much like Russell Wilson with Denver. It was a strategic, like, we're done, we're gonna move you. Let's see what Brissett and the rest of the offense does, but also let's not risk you getting any sort of injury guarantee that's gonna
Yeah.
tie us to you. And also, let's not, like, maybe we'll get something out of you for trade compensation. So let's just shut you down. Like, it was not because he was bad. He wasn't great, but it was like, it was very obvious. This is the end of the road. We're done with it. It wasn't a play standpoint. We saw way worse quarterback play last year alone. Hello, Geno Smith. Hello, JJ McCarthy. Like, we've seen much worse quarterback play than Kyler, who has been limited but effective. So yeah, no, there's no
Yeah.
no question JJ McCarthy is a worse player right now.
Yeah, the thing with Kyler last year, it just felt quite conservative. His completion rate off the top of my head was pretty strong last year compared to like career averages. But it wasn't like you were getting the scurrying around Kyler Murray that we knew going back a few years. You weren't getting as much of the off script stuff. It really did feel conservative. Now, Kevin O'Connell's been fantastic for so many quarterbacks that I'd like to think that he could bring a little bit more of that out in the same way that he did for a bunch of quarterbacks before JJ McCarthy got there. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, like on Underdog at the minute, either JJ McCarthy or Kyler getting drafted, or were people holding off on Kyler until this news hit?
So let me pull this up. So no, so both guys were getting drafted plenty. JJ McCarthy, up until the Kyler to Minnesota news kicked off about a week and a half ago, was typically going in like ADP 160 to 180 range. In the last
Right.
week, he's plummeted to, we're talking 19th, 20th
Undrafted.
round,
Yeah.
and pretty similar on other apps. And then with Kyler's, I think he started out low,
Yeah.
unnecessarily low. Like, it was like he was going past like Cam Ward of like, we're not sure he's going to start type of like 170s, 160s. And as you can see here, he's risen to an ADP of 120 now. I'm seeing him go as early as round 9, 10, ahead of this,
Okay.
as the market reacts to, oh, this is likely the Vikings starter.
Yeah, because I mean, last week when we were drafting, and we talked about how the quarterbacks go early at this time of year, and people are looking for that kind of certainty. So pushing them up to like 120 range, like that's where what Malik Willis was kind of going in this range
That's about
before
where
he ended up.
Willis is going now. Yeah.
Okay, right. Do you think that? Can you make an art? Do you think that he ends up getting pushed into the top 100? I kind of struggle
Yeah,
with that.
yes, because we saw Justin Fields in a very similar, like, getting a new home, new starting, and the mobility thing, chasing him into the mid 90s, the low 100s. So yeah, I'd expect him to continue to climb as the market double counts the certainty and double counts the coaching sentiment, and we get more and more of, this is Neo Darnold, Neo Geno, Neo Baker Mayfield, the reclamation project that proves everybody wrong, but we pay the most expensive price of any of those guys, because of the certainty of it.
Yeah, I struggle with the idea of pushing him much up above 90 because I just there's going to be a bench risk because of JJ McCarthy if things are going poorly. There's going to be just is Kyler effective, and
Yeah.
much like he's better than JJ McCarthy. There's definitely still enough kind of variance that you could say is Kyler going to necessarily be great in this scheme with these teammates. So I think kind of around that 90 to 100 range is where I feel comfortable with him. Do you feel like that this should push Justin Jefferson up? Because I mean, like Justin Jefferson has been somebody who like has divided opinions. People who thought that JJ McCarthy was going to be the starter wanted nothing to do with him. I mean, you're talking what like fringe round two sort of territory, wasn't he?
Yeah. So, I mean, JJ McCarthy opened up solidly in the second round. At no point did he ever get to like truly the 2-3 turn because where I'm at with JJ McCarthy is tough. Not JJ McCarthy, sorry,
Justin
Justin
Jefferson.
Jefferson. I'm at, we never truly got what we saw last year was very, very bad. And what we've seen from this offense without a Kirk Cousins type behind, at the quarterback position, Justin Jefferson's been a volatile, lacking spikes type of fantasy player. And unfortunately, the market said, surely something is coming. And then we got comments and insider reports basically a week after the NFL season wrapped of the Vikings will bring in competition of some sort. And so the market said, okay, thank God we're going to get something that's not JJ McCarthy. So we've already been counting. He's been going at the 1-2 turn and sometimes, sometimes slipping to the mid second, sometimes working his way into the first round on name value alone. But we've been able to connect every quarterback name that's available: Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, Kyler Murray. And now with Kyler Murray, the market. So I'm worried we're going to, much like with the Kenneth Walker news, I'm worried we're going to double count this news that it's happening. He's getting a new change of scenery and potentially a new chance at life with his fantasy outlook with Kyler coming in. But like Kyler's not been the most fantasy friendly quarterback to any position from a
Yeah.
consistency and volatility standpoint. I think people will talk and point to, well, DeAndre Hopkins. It's like, sure, but that was in a very like, we're going to pepper him with 8 to 10 targets a game and let him go nuts. I see every reason to do that with Justin Jefferson, but that's not quite how O'Connell's run the offense. And the interior O-line of the Vikings has been poor, which affects a smaller quarterback. So I have trepidation of double counting for Justin Jefferson because Kyler, while being a big upgrade on JJ McCarthy, is not like a good enough one feeling great about it.
It's very easy to look at it through rose tinted glasses and forget that this is a guy who we had frustrations, who wasn't getting the ball to Marvin Harrison, who wasn't targeting Trey McBride in the end zone enough. And so I don't think that I really want to push Justin Jefferson necessarily any higher. I think now you're just kind of at the mercy of the running back situation and whether you like Justin Jefferson over those guys like James Cook, Devin Achan, Ashton Genty, and try to look at construction more than anything and what the kind of way that things are falling. But outside of Kyler Murray and the Vikings, what was like the one move that's made you, I don't know, readjust things this week?
I'm hard pressed to make any sweeping changes really and truly because like Mike Evans, Romeo Doubs, Rachaad White, those guys finding new homes with pretty good wide openings to me was always the expected outcome. The Jaguars bringing in someone not that good is at first glance I want to adjust, but then I'm a Tuten skeptic from a third round rookie that hasn't done a whole lot, has had fumbling issues coming into the NFL, had fumbling issues last year, got goal line and short yardage work, but was only talked about that work, repeatedly late in the season and after the season wrapped by the staff. And then Gladstone, the GM in Jacksonville, coming out today and saying, we are strategically signing and not signing guys for certain amounts and of certain archetypes to maximize our comp picks. And so we will make moves in the summer during training camp and then in the season to maximize not. And so to me, as a skeptic, I see all the data reasons to be in on Tootin, but the market is doing the opposite of what I would prefer, which is lower the Tootin price, which to me was a little too high to begin with, quite frankly. And so it's like, of all the things I want to adjust to, the market's adjusting way more aggressively than I'm comfortable doing in a majority of these ways. And the guys that are going to rise, I, I'm not super shocked by it. So I'm yet to really truly see anything shocking, save the Giants having all the smoke about bringing in a running back and not doing that yet. But with Love in the first
Yeah.
10 picks looms for a bunch of teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just going back to what you said about the Jags and the comp pick thing, it's like, okay, so if they were to wait out the running back market and we assume that they signed a free agent, then you're kind of looking at what Najee Harris coming off an Achilles injury, Austin Eckler coming off an injury, Nick Chubb, who looked pretty toast, Antonio Gibson, Jerome Ford, Kareem Hunt, like Alexander Mattison, Brian Robinson, like these aren't guys that I think could bury Tootin. I think that you could definitely find one of those guys who would hurt him slightly. I mean, probably Brian Robinson, but like he just feels a little too similar to kind of Chris Rodriguez, and
Yeah.
then they would end up with three guys who are pretty reasonable at the goal line. So I don't think I'm overly worried about Tootin. It's just, I mean, the slappies are definitely pushing the narrative at the minute.
I think my bigger concern with Tootin and some of these other backfields is that the team that drafts Love likely doesn't have a need for one of the running backs on their roster. And there are a couple of trade and cut candidate running back veterans that were fairly effective or have been trusted with work that, could easily get dealt away following the draft or following, teams getting into camp and they go, oh, not liking what I see. And then they go and get a guy, right? Like trades can easily happen. Post U1 can be designated ahead of time, but it's also not, teams can easily make a bunch of adjustments. And we've seen this a couple of years in a row of teams making late additions off the street or via trade, late into the training camp season before week 1. Several times nuking our favorite little narrative running backs. And so I might be a little too dug in on the anti-Tootin thing because to me it feels kind of like just a trap back price where we're doing a lot of projecting with not a lot of it's a big jump of faith. And I could end up being wrong, but I think there's still a few dominoes to fall that could easily come. I don't know that they're necessarily free agents, but that's probably the one that I need to adjust to the most, but it feels like everybody else has adjusted too much. Like he's going in the 4th round in a lot of these drafts, which is the opposite effect I thought a signing should have had.
Yeah, I mean, Def brings up a good point about LaQuint Allen. Like he was somebody that towards the end of training camp last year started getting a little bit of hype, came out of the gates and had a really impressive first half of the first week of the season, and then we didn't really see much from him again. But it would be unusual for him to kind of make a second-year leap. Where do you stand on Rachaad White after the news this afternoon that he was signing with the Commanders? Basically, just him and JCM at the minute. Like, are you expecting that they're still firmly in the mix for Jeremiah Love picking at 7th overall? That feels like the floor of where Jeremiah Love's going to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally still viable. I think it's a decent win for Bill to have an Eckler replacement. Kind of like a pass focal guy. Like, Rachaad White's price was too cheap. He's been going in like anywhere from the 130s to the 160s most of drafting summer. He's a free agent. It wasn't likely he was going to return to Tampa. These types of guys get work and they can oftentimes outproduce, their price. Kenny Gainwell, great example of a, 3rd down pass focal back that in the right setup just gets a lot of work. He's got good size. I'd say ending up on Washington is as good as you can hope for. TBD on what the offensive scheme is going to be and how much they'll target the running backs. This isn't Cliff Kingsbury's offense anymore. So I'd say pretty good for him, pretty good for Bill, but a 1-year deal with, we don't know what money is yet, which is very odd. It's been like 3 hours. We don't know how much money he's getting paid.
Yeah.
Not that it matters too much because again, my thing is they owe nothing to Bill. 7th round pick. They owe nothing to Rachaad White outside of this 1 year. Very easily could bring in Love if he's still on the board and they just go, hey, best player available, right? Like, yeah, I agree that's seemingly the floor, and I'll be interested to see how they attack that. So I'm not victory lapping anything too heavily yet, because we've seen teams make aggressive pushes in the draft for their guy at running back plenty of times. But pretty good hit for White, but I won't be surprised if he's, we've seen his rushing will get relegated. So I think he's a very fun, viable flex RB3 with 2 upside type, but I don't, he belongs right around J.K. Dobbins, Kenneth Gainwell. I don't know that you need to chase him up higher, because I do think guys like Rico Dowdle have higher upside.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Rachaad White kind of steadily improve as a rusher over the years. Like, his efficiency's definitely improved. And the Commanders' offensive line was much better last year than it had any right to be. And I think that there's arguments you can make for a reasonable play, but I don't think that it's necessarily a league-winning type play at the minute. I think I would prefer him in full PPR rather than in half PPR, but I wouldn't fade him over here. It's more just like, if I was going to make an argument that possibly tilt me a little more, and we will get into a draft in a few minutes, but like the one that stands out near the top, Kenneth Walker, we kind of talked about a lot of stuff with Kenneth Walker over the last few weeks. Myself and Rich went into it on the recap show that we did a few days ago. There are people who are kind of claiming that Kenneth Walker should be round 1, and that definitely feels a little aggressive for a guy who doesn't really have the full 3-down work set for the way that the Chiefs kind of utilized their running backs, maybe. But do you think the market's still catching up on Kenneth Walker? Like, I know he's sitting at RB15. I know the established run have him as their RB11.
Oh, he's going at the 1-2 turn regularly, and I've already seen people taking him in the first round to make sure they get him. We're back to Clyde Edwards-Helaire 106 overreacting season.
Those were the days.
It's crazy.
So that first round, obviously, it's ending with like, are you taking him ahead of James Cook?
No. No. I struggle to see how I can. Like, that is such a. I don't love James Cook, but like that, James Cook has done the Walker thing, but better. So I struggle to see, like, why would I do that from the offense, the rushing focal and the rushing offense in Buffalo is better. The only way I can take Walker over Cook is I'm saying Walker's going to get just as much work, and they're going to be a more efficient offense, and or Walker's getting 80% of the goal line touches. That would violate everything that Walker's been to this point as a person. Now, Cook got that like eventual elevation, and the only bugaboo for him really and truly is game script dependent weirdness and Josh Allen being a battering ram at the goal line. But like, Kansas City's not been the best place for a workhorse in a long time, and I don't know that money changes that.
Yeah, and also, I mean, the money's still impressive for a running back, but like, Kenneth Walker on the surface, I made this point the other night, his deal wasn't as much as Rashid Shaheed. The Seahawks chose to pay Rashid Shaheed over paying Kenneth Walker, and perhaps there's some stuff in the language and stuff, and maybe that's a poor way to look at it, but on the surface, it definitely feels like they prioritized wide receiver. Kenneth Walker, like, what he got is great for him, absolutely deserves it, but I'm not sure that I see him in the same way. Like, basically, he needs to be like Derrick Henry to pay off and have those kind of like upper teens touchdown years to really get there. And as you say, we've not really seen that. Like, I like Ken Walker. Like, I think he's such a fun player to watch, and he's a fun player to have pick 'em slips on more often than not. And I want exposure to him because I think that there's definitely a chance that, like, if we spin forward to the summer, when it comes to Corain's like time machine into the future for legendary running backs article, I feel like you can build a very fun case for Kenneth Walker, and one where it's like, okay, I can imagine what it will take for Kenneth Walker to be RB1 overall. the chances of it happening definitely aren't something that I want to bet huge amounts on. But I would be
The path is literally what Saquon did, right? Like just sun run long touchdown plays. And Saquon got a big deal and went to Philly and was a third round pick, like at 2-3 turn at earliest, right? Like you mentioned Derrick Henry. These are guys that have always been kind of like second and third round picks because we know the floor is a little bit queasy with the pass catching and the if you don't hit the big plays, like you can have a spike ceiling single game, those will be there, but like the whole season is dicey, and all of a sudden we're saying because this guy's a chief now, we're chasing him up into the first round. That violates everything we as a fantasy sharp industry have talked about for a long time. So I'm kind of the mind that if the casuals want Ken Walker in the first round, I'm going to let them have him because they're assuming more risk than I think there is reward.
So let's say hypothetically Kenneth Walker's ADP settles, say it settles around the 14th pick overall. What kind of exposure would you think that you would have to him by the time drafts close? Because I mean, this area of the draft,
Yeah,
there's not too many guys that I take heavy stances against these days. Back a few years ago, I was happy to fade guys entirely. Now it's like, I'm just looking for construction at those first couple of rounds.
and in best ball, like what I've realized is the second round once again is going to feel bad, and I think we're gonna come away with a couple of hits in the top, like outside of the top 7. It feels dicey. It doesn't feel good, and I can make strong cases for and against everybody. And I think it's more now this year than ever before. Bijan falling to 3 in this draft is wild. And so we're already getting bored, folks. If he's at 14, it still feels a little expensive. It feels like the Derrick Henry fade I've had year over year, except like not age related, right? Walker's the younger version of Henry, but like I prefer more of a pass catching ceiling. So in best ball, I'm going to try to be at 8% with my volume, but 14 still feels a little expensive. Justin, look at it. Justin Jefferson going at 7 in the first round with Kyler Murray. We're already acting like everything's back to normal. CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra, Cook. These are the guys I would suggest here. Who do you lean here at 9?
I mean, I've still got a little bit of a lean towards Amon-Ra, but I'm fine either way on CD. It's really tough, that one. That was one like I'm just kind of finalizing my rankings at the minute, and I like CD as a player better, and I think that his path to be CD Lamb has a much better chance, in my opinion, of being wide receiver 1 overall than Amon-Ra St. Brown does. But Amon-Ra St. Brown is just so freaking reliable and so goddamn good at what he does and earns so many targets, and his competition on his team is so much less than what CD Lamb finishes. But I think I probably will have Amon-Ra St. Brown ahead of CD Lamb, but it's a real coin flip territory.
I've had Amon-Ra ranked above CeeDee Lamb all of the draft season because it felt very likely that Pickens was returning. And even if Lamb was a little bit hampered by the injury last season, like Pickens is a huge hit to the target total and the touchdown total that they'll get. Re-signing Javonte, who was a very effective back in the red zone, isn't nothing. So, like, yeah, if CeeDee Lamb gets 140 targets and sun runs on him, it's going to feel great. Outside of that, Amon-Ra has just like it's both who has the better season on touchdowns and who has the better finals. It's a coin flip there, but from a consistency standpoint, I'm less afraid at Amon-Ra. At 16, if you want some Walker, I'm willing to take some Walker.
I mean, hey, I'm good with that at that point. I think that's kind of a fair price when you make the argument of like him versus Jeremiah Love. Like we've seen with Bijan's rookie season, we've seen with Ashton Genty's rookie season that quite often these rookie running backs, yes, they have an incredible ceiling. Yes, they're all different cases and that, but like I'm fine saying that Kenneth Walker has as equal opportunity as Jordan Love to be a top 5 running back.
I mean, he and Saquon feel very similarly. The vibes on Philadelphia are not good. The offensive scheme the last 2 years have been abysmal and somehow gotten worse. The O-line coach has stepped away, and he likes Garnecchia are going to leave a lot to be desired. from New England. Like, we're talking about two of the best position coaches in the NFL. So them losing some O lineman and O line coach in Philadelphia doesn't make me feel great. AJ Brown could be traded, but could stay. So, I don't think any of that truly impacts Barkley so much as it does Devontae Smith. But Hurts and the tush push, it's not going away, but it certainly wasn't as effective last year.
Yeah.
They seemingly walked away from it because it wasn't as effective, but also it sounded like they wanted to like prove they didn't need it. There's weird vibes in Philly, and it
Yeah.
feels like Saquon, obviously coming off the season he came off of, was left a lot to be desired. But what I noticed is we saw a lot more random guys like Tank Dell and Shipley eating into the role. He got a few more targets, but he lost a few more like high value touches, and it didn't leave me feeling great. So I'm willing to take Walker, Barkley, and Henry as kind of like similar tiers of who runs hotter on big plays this year. And the vibes with Walker feel better than Barkley, but I could see him still bouncing back.
Yeah, I mean, it was just so weird how Dallas Goedert became the goal line back there with the little kind of shovel passes and stuff, and they did that so well. You kind of wonder whether there's another iteration of that that's coming, where they've got something else. But obviously, they're very creative around the goal line, and they're very focused on what gives them a high leverage position there. Now, whether Dallas Goedert comes back or not, I'm not sure it really matters. That play isn't like something that's a unique skill necessarily. They just execute it really bloody well every time. So I'm okay with Barkley. I think that like he's possibly a little undervalued. Is that Emmanuel Wilson going there in round 3?
Yeah, I think someone star method themselves. They got Bijan at 3 and then told themselves, remember to take Emmanuel Wilson. Remember to take Emmanuel Wilson. He's the new Seattle back. So either this drafter in the 3 hole misread 2 million for 20 million, or he's in the queue to remember, and and Kyron Williams going much earlier than normally does. We're gonna have our pick of the litter. ETN still not being off the board is quite something because I've moved ETN up quite a bit in the ranks.
Yeah, very much ETN over Bucky as well.
Like,
that feels like a very easy click there.
ETN goes. What are we thinking here?
I quite like Lad McConkey. I'm a little bit higher than consensus on Lad McConkey. I think that this Mike McDaniel offense, obviously it's going to center around Keaton Mitchell, but I think that Lad McConkey is going to have a real bounce back season.
So we've got Josh Allen, 3 picks past ADP at quarterback. Bucky Irving has been falling. You've shouted Lad. I don't think we're going to get both guys. So you tell me who you want.
No, you go Josh Allen if you want him.
I will then. I think one of the fun things about Allen that I've been doing is 3 quarterback builds are all the rage. I think we see even more of them this year, and it's justifiable, especially early in the season like we are right now without knowing bye weeks. But with Josh Allen at quarterback, he is the most consistent spike guy, and he's someone that I'm willing to say I will only take 2 quarterbacks because even if I take the bye week 0, I'm lapping the field in the positional flexibility I get at the other positions. And so I'm hammering Allen's the only quarterback I'm doing 2 and stopping at. And so if after ADP where I don't love Irving, I don't love Ted McMillan's price, T is fine. And I don't feel the need to stack. We can get DJ Moore in the 5th or 6th round if we want, but I don't feel the need to stack Allen, quite frankly, because when he explodes, it's touchdowns that he's running in.
So with Allen, I mean, C Money in the chat makes a point like it needs to be a good 2, needs to be a good second quarterback, and we can come back to this after this pick if you want. But like, how deep down into the quarterback ranks are you looking at that second quarterback?
It depends. It's all in the room. Who are you liking here at running back? Fonte, Hendo, but at receiver, who's standing out?
The Rashee Rice ADP value feels pretty strong there. Like, I mean, certified scumbag, but
yeah. I don't like saying it out loud, but ever since I was pretty worried about the domestic case that was mounting, but that's seemingly been dismissed, and we have seen the scumbag league not care about it as long as it's not a big stink. Burden here at the 4-5 seems interesting and worth a shout as he's been rising a full round and a half. Totally justifiable. But like, if Rashee Rice does not get suspended, we've seen what the role is. We've seen what the fantasy ceiling is. It might be the least fun click to make from a vibes and a morality standpoint, but unfortunately, it seems like the league's probably not going to do anything if he stays out of trouble. He's not been great at staying out of trouble, so yeah.
So yeah, just going back to quarterback, like, are you looking for a top 12 guy to pair? Like on this roster, would you be looking at Rashee Rice and saying, okay, Patrick Mahomes at QB 12? Is he the kind of guy I want to pair with Josh Allen, or are you looking down a little deep, sort of like QB 15, QB 16, like Bo Nix, Jared Goff kind of territory?
I think as long as you're pushing it past the top 7-8 picks, because there's let's be honest, guys, there's a dead zone between like rounds 2 through 5 and then 6 through 8. There are dead spots with lots of landmines. So if it stacks and if it makes sense, like quarterback is undervalued in a lot of these formats, but especially half point PPR here that we're playing on Underdog. So I'm a quarterback pusher. Always have been, always will be. I love pushing the quarterback position. It's burned me plenty. It's helped me plenty. There's been a lot of late quarterbacks that are viable. With the prices being higher this year for a lot of guys, but lower or at the same as Allen, who's been regularly going in the 3rd round, despite last year these elites going in like round 2 and early 3. So I'm at the point now where if we go Mahomes, that's fine. I'm trying to take a swing of like a Malik Willis or a Kyler Murray, but bench risk doesn't help a ton. But what we've seen solo Allen, solo Hurts be viable in the past. So I'm willing to risk it for the biscuit quite often. But ultimately, a stacked second quarterback who is equally really good is valuable. I'll laugh if Lamar falls to us and it blows this whole thing out of the water, because I won't say no.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm looking at the wide receiver room of Amon-Ra St. Brown and Rashee Rice. Obviously, in theory, there's plenty of volume there. I think you could make an argument for one of the rookie wide receivers like Carnell Tate, but like Lamar, Josh Allen, like there's a lot of fun to be had like that.
I'm not going to say no. You tell me what you want to do.
I'm not going to say no. It's
the room is going to give us 2 elite quarterbacks after ADP. 3 is nothing to like. I don't care about 3 picks, but 7 picks. I'm fine if the room is going to give it to me. I was fine pushing for Amon-Ra with Goff. I was fine pushing with Mahomes with Rice, but I think we've gotten bored with what Lamar is, and I'm willing to punish the room with the floor and ceiling we have at quarterback and being very fine to stop the rest of the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't quite heavily concerned about the interior of the offensive line for the Ravens right now. But I mean, the vibes otherwise with Declan Doyle and what he could bring to this offense, plenty good enough. And I think that, Lamar last year, it just didn't really happen. But you go back to the first month and he played at an MVP kind of level, and then the injuries started and all that, and things fell off and blah blah blah. But yeah, as always, as a Ravens fan and a Lamar slappy, I'll have far too much exposure to him as usual. But
I know
think
Lamar falling to us made it move for you. You can admit it.
I mean, like I say, the wide receiver room was what I kind of looked at, the volume we had. But yeah, I mean, you got to scoop.
So I'm okay building a little robust. I'm okay grabbing an exciting rookie. I'm okay grabbing a undervalued vet per the ranks. You tell me where you want to go here.
I'd lean towards the wide receiver. I still think like Mekhi Lemon and just shooting for real upside there. Like the floor we've got at quarterback is massive. Like if one of these quarterbacks has a down week, fine. And Lamar's definitely susceptible to the occasional one where Derrick Henry vultures over touchdowns that day or something. But the idea that both him and Josh Allen are going to have down weeks, as well as Amon-Ra and Rashee Rice having low volume, just doesn't seem realistic. So I think being able to get to round 6 and take a dart from Mekhi Lemon, it feels fun. I mean, like through 6 rounds, we've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Kenneth Walker, Josh Allen, Rashee Rice, Lamar Jackson, and Makai Lemon. I feel like there's probably not too many builds like that, and I'm good with playing around and having a little fun at this point of the year.
Yeah, and the one nice thing about Lemon is that as a potential first round pick, there's potential that the Bills or the Ravens take him, but also I thought and when we talked to Rich and I did an early draft about a month ago now, the rookies were going here in the mid 50s, and we both felt that was a little pricey given just rookie receiver prices in general, but also this batch of rookies. But yeah, here in the 60s, after DJ Moore, who would have been nice to stack with Allen at cost, even if he's not my favorite, past Marvin Harrison with the scam targets of Jacoby Brissett at minimum, feels pretty good. I do want to point out that Burrow and Hurts going right around QB ADP feel pretty good with the fact that we got slight discounts on both of our guys. And when we get to the the playoff weeks and the finals, I don't know that there's a ton of teams with these two builds. So it's certainly not a build I'm going to do, but it's very funny that we get to do a more fun version of the two quarterback build we talked about at this stage in the season because of the points that we'll have added to our arsenal. I'm not worried about the bye week, but yeah, Lemon feels like a good hit. It's just it also feels good to have two running backs through the top. But now that we have more guys signing at prices that no one's thinking about, we can pull up guys like C-Rod, guys like White, and take our shots because I think now Anchor and Zero RB feel a little bit more viable as things become clearer.
So with that said, obviously Ramondre Stevenson's there, but who else at the running back position would you be interested in? I mean, Cal Mononga is obviously fun, but been drafted at a similar place for a little while. Rico Dowdle's kind of been on the rise. I'm not particularly in on the Ricky Pearsall experience. I know you like him. I'm not against taking him, but if you wanted a running back, who would it be?
I'm just okay taking Jordan Tyson at 81 and getting two potential first round picks. This is a massive fall. I don't care if he comps poorly to a bunch of things at this price. If we're going to build a full team out of rare combos and are his odds of panning out from a historical comparison fantastic? No, but he's still going to go in the first round and he can still spike late and make it work. Ricky Pearsall was a pretty bad bust his rookie year, but he paid off in best ball because just having an elite final game. And is that in the cards for even a bad player? Yes. So I'm willing to say the market's overreacting here. And also from a build perspective, if you're going to bail us out of going early quarterback and then give us guys that are going at the same ADPs, I'm more than happy because these guys, Ramondre's been falling. Dowdle at 88 feels totally fine to me. I'd rather a running back over Myers, Pittman, and Pearsall. So to me, that's fine. And I know we both agree on Tucker Kraft. So, I feel very comfy in this range of the draft.
Yeah, it's it's the ambiguity area, isn't it? It's the area where the league winners come from, and whether that's Ricky Pearsall putting it together and being healthy for a season, or Tucker Kraft coming back and being better than people think, or a whole host of other things like the ambiguous backfield. So Ramondre Stevenson, the value on him, nearly a full round, feels fine to me. I don't hate Rico Dowdle.
You tell me which one. I don't care about value, Ramondre or Rico. What do you want?
I'd go Rico.
Okay. Yeah, Ramondre's been falling. I've got plenty of late Ramondre, but I think there's a potential for Hendo to break out, get more work. They have improved the blocking tight end with Julian Hill. They have improved some of the O-line signings. I will not be surprised if Rico Dowdle flips Ramondre in price as the market kind of comes around to, hey, the Patriots do have every reason to, use both guys, but get Hendo more involved as the big play guy. And historically, the running back coming in a year two with the explosive ability that goes earlier in the ADP. Like when JJ Zachariason, good friend of the pod, JJ Zachariason, comes out and talks about his historical tendencies, like Ramondre is going to look like a fade because of his, in a two backfield with some ambiguity. the profile he will maintain is going to be more dicey. It makes sense why they leaned into him last year. He did play well. They had a lot on the line, and the rookie running back was not the most consistent and trustworthy in all phases of the game, but they spent a lot of draft capital on him. They need explosives out of this offense. And now Rico Dowdle's kind of assuming a lead back role potentially in a Mike McCarthy offense where he thrived in Dallas 2 years ago. So yeah, give me the Rico. If nothing else, Rico consistently gives us 30-point games, and Ramondre doesn't do that.
C Money asking where did Tuten go?
I highlighted he goes here at 53 to the 5 hole. Yeah.
I mean, I don't hate that. Like that kind of Judkins, Tuten, Henderson range feels like, I'd be Judkins by probably a couple more picks ahead of those two guys, but I don't hate it. And then just copy paste laid saying what's changed for Ramondre to be falling 20 plus picks.
Probably rankings and boredom.
Yeah, I think it's just that kind of people expecting the second year leap from Trevion Henderson. I feel like I heard Mike Vrabel saying some positive things about Trevion Henderson in the last week or two, perhaps, but maybe I'm wrong on that. So yeah, nothing massively. There's no news that I've seen that would cause him to.
I'm going to queue some names, and you're going to tell me orders of guys you like.
I'm not wild about Kyle Pitts. I think that's a little sketchy. I don't mind Kenneth Gainwell. I think the Bucs are going to make a point of using him a decent amount. Javon Jennings is probably going to rise in ADP when he does sign, but the league seems to be telling us that they're not overly bothered by him.
I think Kenny's a great click here for structural reasons, and like he got way better money than I thought he'd get. He goes to a great spot that he was better as a rusher than we realized. This is an offense we want pieces of. And we know he's a very strong target earner. And also, if we're leveraging the Bucky, passing on Bucky Price, not only in this draft pod, but going into the playoffs, it looks like Gainwell could eat into that role a lot more. And I expect Gainwell and Dobbins to rise above guys like Corum and into the Stevenson Dowdle range. And Gainwell with the pass catching and the rushing he was able to do, those are pretty strong indicators, and I'm not going to ignore those things. So yeah, he feels like a very fun click. If Pitts is still at 112, though, we got to just scoop the value. Otherwise, how do you like these receivers in this range?
Yeah, I prefer Godwin over that. I mean, Concepcion fine, but we've kind of got a good chunk of rookies at the minute. So unless you really like him, I'd probably lean towards Godwin. Obviously, that kind of gives us another volume hog. Stephon Diggs, I feel a little more worried about. So yeah, Godwin. If you want to scoop Pitts, I'm fine with that.
We're gonna have to just make the full value team, just for the rarity's sake. But like, Pitts' ceiling is pretty good, and I don't know why he's falling in this draft. But in this range, like I think he's easily a better click than Gadsden. Kincaid has been falling, so from a stack perspective, that seems fine. I'm a little iffy on the health and the full-time role, but like the Pitt ceiling is real, and now that Stefanski's there, I think the reason why he's falling is because of some like they're open to moving him talk, but we don't know how much smoke and how much is real. And this kind of news has been wrong before, and from a build perspective, getting a tight end of this quality at this price seems fine.
I mean, when it comes to the Falcons, I'm just so much more favorable to Drake London and what he brings to the offense. And I kind of think that Kyle Pitts is fine, but part of me doesn't think he deserves the franchise tag. I feel like he's a much less talent than that. You look across the course of his career, and he's scored the same amount of touchdowns as Isaiah Likely, and obviously Isaiah Likely's had a better quarterback through that period, but like Isaiah Likely was dealing with a lot less targets and that. I don't think he's a complete player, but in 20-round best ball, where we're not going to take a third quarterback, so we're probably going to take a third tight end, it's fine.
Yeah, well, my pushback slightly is that Pitt seems to be finally over the injury. He looked and he played. He was finally more explosive. He's finally more fluid. We've seen him be able to earn a decent amount of targets as the 2 or the 3 in an offense, but we've also seen him be able to operate as the 1 if London is gone. Right now, it's just a bunch of Jags and London who struggled with injury back-to-back years. And again,
Yeah,
could not have gotten a better coach for using a tweener. If it was any other coach, I'd be
yeah,
concerned. We just saw Fannin get force-fed a ton of targets. And so from my volume standpoint with decent talent, like Izzy might he was a fade in the 4th round where he started out. But here at this click over Gadsden, over Kincaid, I think he's like those guys, but primed for more focal. I like Godwin fine. Godwin off the injuries looked a little bit concerning from efficiency standpoint. His age is not the best. I click him just fine, but it could easily be one of those guys where he's a small hit, small miss. And we've seen Pitts be a big winner from just, again, in best ball. I think the ceiling that Pitts has shown us is higher than the Godwin ceiling is available now. And I didn't feel from a receiver standpoint, I knew we were going to have our pick of the litter here. I'm letting Shakir continue to fall with the DJ Moore.
yeah.
So who do you prefer here? I think Jennings is fine, but I'm also okay going for another rookie if you want to slap it up.
Let's go Jennings. I think that like he fits the build well enough. Like we've got 2 volume hogs, we've got 2 rookies. I think Jennings is a pretty decent floor player. Obviously, the injury stuff was quite ambiguous last year. Who knows exactly what was real on it and how much was just him angling for a better contract. And it's definitely not everybody's cup of tea. But I think that Jennings makes sense as a 5th wide receiver here, so I'm good with that. Just want to go back to the chat. Ben asking, no Pollard love. Think Love is picked for Tennessee, and see when he's saying that he's taking Pollard at that price. Yeah, I mean, I
don't mind it, but it's not fun.
Yeah, I mean, well, you look at Pollard, you look at Tajee Spears. Neither of them were drafted by this coaching staff. Like it feels fine, but yeah, if Jeremiah Love is there, I think that Tony Pollard's absolutely toast. And I just kind of feel like Tony Pollard is so similar to a lot of the guys in that range. You know, you get reasonable yardage totals at the end of the season and reasonable, results if he stays healthy, but it doesn't ever feel like he's winning you weeks a lot of the time.
Casey and Diggs fall to us both. We can either do the Jennings play again with Diggs, which I think is fine because Diggs look good. He's going to get paid, or we can take the 1st round rookie again. You tell me who you want. Seems like we're getting everybody we want. So,
yeah, I mean, I don't love it. You choose, man.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna. I froze time for us, and I'm gonna let us just hammer it in. If we're gonna get discounts on KC, I think there's a chance Diggs continues to fall because the market on Underdog is overreacting to a 0 projection because they're currently unsigned. So
yeah,
KC's been going within 10 to 20 picks of this all summer, but if you're gonna give us all 3 1st round rookie receivers on this team, only one of them has to be a big smash to matter. Only one of them has to hit our lineup in the playoffs any given week, including the finals, to be what we need in the season. And while I think I'm very fine on Jennings and Diggs at cost as veteran receivers who will get plenty of volume. Diggs looked pretty good last year, earned over 100 targets. He's gonna get paid. He's gonna get money, but like in best ball, in the finals, like who could supercharge it? And it's a 1st round rookie who looks pretty good.
I think my problem with Diggs is he had a complete lack of good quality competition around him last year. Obviously, you can make points about the off-field stuff and how stable his life is. But also, we're heading towards he'll be he turns 33 in November. Like the age cliff comes pretty quick for wide receivers sometimes, and for somebody whose life doesn't seem particularly settled and whose biggest performances last year seemed to come in that game against Buffalo where he was so motivated to just absolutely stick it to them. There's part of me that is just a little bit worried about Diggs, and I think he's going to be quite landing spot dependent. We know how fiery he can be off the field. We know that if things aren't going his way, is he going to have patience with an inexperienced quarterback? Is he going to have patience with a first-time play caller? So Diggs is somebody that in these kind of early contests, I'm probably being a little bit blind to potential value on it, but I feel like it could quite easily be a 0 pick.
I disagree with that somewhat, just because like what he brings to an offense is valuable, and the position is going to be valuable. And there's a lot of openings right now, and teams are just not in a rush to do it because they know, he's probably going to skip OTAs. He'll come in when he comes in. So he feels like the Aaron Rodgers of receivers, undervalued and good enough. What I'm curious here is, do we want to go? The running backs are getting kind of thin. I do not mind pulling up Rod, who rises, and I
Yep.
think Marks and Spears continue to fall. And I think we'll have our pick of the litter of probably a second tight end. Sounds like Goddard might return to Philly. Strange and Jawan continue to fall. Jawan I prefer over. But yeah, I think C-Rod here is a great click.
Yeah, C-Rod, no argument there whatsoever. Are you still taking anybody Marks? I know, like...
I'm taking him because he's falling to like 170, 180, and at that point, as a bad backup on a fine I'm not even going to call it a fine offense, a fine offensive environment for running back volume, fine. He's been falling, so if he continues to fall, we can scoop him. But I think, we didn't take Tuten, and I think C-Rod as a backup at 150 feels more than defensible.
Yeah, Aaron Jones resigned with the Vikings.
Restructured for like slight pickup.
It just kind of got lost in all the fucking craziness of the last couple of days. But back on a decent enough contract that I'd assume he'll be the RB1 as well, because Jordan Mason.
Keaton Mitchell also got some money to come hook up with McDaniels, so that feels like a fun click. And Vidal now becomes a much less fun click.
But the thing with Mitchell, it's just like the speed, and Mike McDaniel, like, I get that this could just be absolute wish casting, but like Keaton Mitchell with Mike McDaniel, like if I'm going to lose money in best ball, that's the way I want to lose it, making bets like that, which could just be so much fun.
So the question is, do we take Goddard, who continues to fall but might re-sign and stay with Philly, or do we take the missile?
I mean, I prefer to go with a fun bet.
Let's go with the missile.
I mean, the Dallas Goddard one, it's really complicated because they've got the $20 million in dead money that can come their way, isn't it? I feel like it's $20 million, but if they don't,
it's a cap hit if he leaves. So they have until tomorrow to refigure it out, and so it feels like, well, that's the likely way it goes. But I think structurally, we were kind of tempting the room with pushing RB, and we said the way we'll fight that is bringing up these other guys that are hopefully not going to get pulled up. Rachaad White gets pulled up ahead of us. Jones gets pulled up ahead of us, both in the 12th round. So to me, with the falling tight ends, we got R1, and there are plenty of other viable guys later. I think Goddard is a smash at cost, but he continues to fall because of uncertainty, to me, which is funny, and a lack of creativity. But I think this team, to really value the two quarterbacks, was to get another viable running back, because it gets very dicey very quick, because through 14 rounds, we have a 2-5-6-1 build. And I don't think we have a weak spot yet. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson at quarterback, Ken Walker, Rico Dowdle, Kenneth Gainwell, Chris Rodriguez, and Keaton the Missile at running back. That feels like a very fun best ball type of room.
Yeah.
Amon-Ra, Rashee Rice, Mekhi Lemon, Jordan Tyson, Jawan Jennings, and Casey Concepcion at receiver feel very solid, and not a room I've gotten once through 90 drafts.
Yeah.
And then Kyle Pitts at tight end feels pretty good.
Quick question from Copy Paste Lade. What's for on Rodgers when you're expecting to decide? Seems like him and Kirk Cousins last relevant free agent quarterbacks. I think now that Kyler's signed in Minnesota, it's over. Like the last little hints of doubt that like Kyler could end up in Pittsburgh or something, like it's just been removed. I don't imagine that we're going to see Rodgers go, you know what, I'd rather be in Cleveland with Todd Monken than with Mike McCarthy, somebody he already knows. I feel like Todd Monken and Aaron Rodgers would be fantastic television. Like they would really go after each other. But yeah, I just think it's nailed on. Rodgers will take his time because that's what he does, and because now he doesn't need to worry about it all. But for Rodgers' part, I mean, he was fine last year. I think I'd be okay mixing him in as like a third quarterback with little bits of stacks and just looking for a little more floor.
Yeah. This feels like a tight end spot to go to me. these running backs feel kind of dicey unless you have strong feelings about Brian Robinson to
No,
Seattle.
I think we can figure that last running back spot out a little bit later. What are we looking at tight end outside of the two guys you flagged?
Njoku, Terrence Ferguson, Theo. It's pretty shit.
Let's go. I'm good with Eli Stowers. Like, I think that's he's not somebody I've formed a strong opinion on yet, but like I know there's plenty of smart people who really like him, and plenty of people who maybe don't like him quite as much, but still expect him to go kind of second round. So
Yeah. It's just no one
let's
here I'm super thrilled to take at receiver. I mean, Isaac Tesla stands out as like the
yeah,
double Detroit headless stack to maybe chase the random touchdowns, but everybody else, it feels like a prayer.
yeah. Hey, Meg. Shout out, Meg. Big fans of Fanspeak.
Shout out, Meg.
Yeah, I mean, if we hadn't had a wide receiver, any rookies, it would have been one where it's like, okay, well, let's take a dart throw on someone like Emmett Johnson, or looking at the wide receivers or something like that. But
Which we still can if we wanted to.
Yeah. So this build, obviously, the two elite quarterbacks. Do you think that there's a world to say we need to push this to a 4 tight end build? I know that's something which still possibly gets done a little less than possibly the data suggests it might be worth doing at times.
I don't know how much more.
Probably took a little earlier than.
Yeah. I mean, I'm viewing the draft capital as fine. So I'm Tesla, Otten, or B Rob here to me.
Well, let's go Tesla. I think I like the correlation play on the Lions, and he definitely was a big winner for it. Like, it's easy to forget just how much the Lions chucked to get him last year, and yeah, he didn't see any kind of volume really, but what he did do was good enough for you to expect him to have a bigger role this year.
The couple of things for working in Tesla's favor is that they really can't afford in a multitude of ways to bring competition here. Khalif Raymond is gone. That frees up some routes. You had some really strong coach speak about from a very trustworthy coach that when what he says goes, as far as usage and all that good stuff. The head coach has said we are not going to lean into heavy personnel. We are going to keep it open. So that from a third receiver route running perspective, that's a huge win for Tesla. Now that Raymond's gone, they gave him glowing reviews about earning time on the field, earning it in run blocking, in assignment, all that good stuff. So from that standpoint, raving reviews. The one issue is he just struggles separating. And he and his coach said that's where he's going to work on, and we feel good about him going into the season. But they also know he's a big body red zone guy, and I think the Lions are poised to really come back strong as a fantasy viable, top 5 fantasy viable offense. They got a lot of work to go with the health of the O-line, but I think they made a huge stride in getting the center that they got. And if there's a team I'm going to trust to be aggressive and make the moves to figure it out, it's the Lions. And so if I'm not taking many wide receiver threes, but there's none a lot better of an offense or a profile than what the Lions and Tesla afford you. I really hope Otten is here, because if we get Otten, I feel very comfortable saying 3 tight ends running a lot of the routes with a lot of target earning potential feel good. Otherwise, we'll have to talk about 4, because I'd like to get to 6 or 7 running backs potentially, just from to really leverage that 2 quarterback. I'd rather not do it at tight end where the ceiling is just so thin unless you're chasing. He goes. That sucks.
Yeah, that's painful. But I mean, I know you like Dawson Knox. Theo Johnson, somebody I'm probably leaving alone. Terrence Ferguson feels like you can get some upside there. And Gunnar Helm's kind of sneaky been one of the winners of free agency. They haven't brought anyone in.
Yeah, what do you want to do here? This range sucks. I think B Rob is a smash here.
Let's go Brian Robinson. Yeah, let's just figure that out, and then
I think.
Can you show us a bit more of the tight ends who are available? Just scrolling down.
Sure. Yeah. So Theo, Terrence Ferguson, Colby Parkinson, who I don't mind. Tyler Higbee resigns, but I'm not into him.
Yeah.
Warren, a total free agent dart throw. Tongas gets the handcuff to Kittle thing, but I just don't see a ton of upside. We talked about in the Discord how you still view Gesicki as having some decent upside. I won't poo-poo that. Ben Sanat, allow me to laugh in your face. Those people are taking him. Don't feel bad about it. And Jonnu, the free agent, I'm not comfortable going that deep at this point in the draft season.
No, definitely. I think that's fair. It's just good to kind of see that. Caleb Johnson just feels completely toast at this point. Like running back wise, like Devin Neal, Sean Tucker, I think those are kind of guys where, guys who have a little bit of explosivity and could really give you a bit more of a boom week. I mean, Sean Tucker, yes, it's a three-headed committee. Yes, we've got Kenneth Gainwell, but I quite like him.
If you like Sean Tucker, I'll let you take Sean Tucker here as our last running back, and we'll finish out the draft with tight end and receiver. I don't mind.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, he has scored 30 points in back-to-back seasons randomly. Yes, he's mostly the RB3 and special teams guy, but there's not another guy that you can consistently say at this range, is one injury away from, potentially having a big game because of workload. And we're taking two backs in the Bucs backfield. One of them is going to get us a spike if it's not Bucky. I feel fine with that thesis. Again, concentrated bets in good backfields or good receiver rooms. To me, it's simple. I'm going to go digging for dirt in good offenses, not in bad offenses.
And Simon asked me, like, blue. I mean, it was just kind of old Monty Warvo's. Was it Louis Vuitton cleats?
His week 18 was like, but like the character concern stuff, the lazy football narrative that did not seem to be false going into the season with not picking things up, not doing well, and then getting blisters from his Gucci cleats, and he's bragged he's not getting rid of the Gucci sneaks. It's tough.
I mean, yeah, I don't mind him at this point in the draft if you're making a bet against Javonte. Like, we've seen far worse running backs have relevancy, but he's not somebody I'd probably be going too heavy over.
Yeah. No, he's definitely worth taking. It's just, much like everybody else in this range, he's easily nothing.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked earlier about some of the running backs who are still available. It wouldn't surprise me to see somebody better than him end up being behind Javonte Williams this year.
Yeah. At receiver here, are any of these names of interest to you?
Well, Malachi Fields has kind of had this up and down off season, and I think obviously he was being drafted earlier at points, and the hype was definitely there. Keenan Allen, I don't mind. Even Ted Hurst is kind of vaguely interesting. Is there anyone else? Can you scroll down a little bit more?
Sure.
I don't know. I mean, Chris Bell's speed's kind of interesting. I don't know, man. I'll if you've got a strong take, I'm open to it.
I don't. I think Keenan Allen's a great click. I just have 35% of him, so I'm happy to take another. If he helps this room, he helps this room. I'm not going to fight you on that. I think one receiver, one tight end. So I guess, do any of these tight ends speak to you that you don't want to miss out on versus any of the receivers we've called out?
No, not in the slightest.
Okay. So I think Keenan's the best click of all these guys.
Yeah. I think if he was going to retire, we'd have heard by now.
And with taking this many rookies, it'd be nice to maybe pad some early season stuff just in case they're off to slow starts.
Simply the love of the game, man. Love of the game.
Tom is a professional grinder, and no one grinds it harder. No, famously, the Adam Levitan cock measure, he's got none left. The nub is gone. That's how hard this man grinds it. Of all the tight ends left, Dawson Knox on a 3-year extension with our quarterback. It's not fun. But Colby Parkinson,
I mean, honestly, I was getting ready to fight you on it, but with Josh Allen, it does make sense.
I don't care. So, to me, it's he and Colby are similar plays. Gesicki, I guess you could say. I mean, these guys all earned the same amount of targets last year, and they all had various levels of suck. I really don't care. I have no strong preference here. Correlation says Knox. Offensive vibes say Parkinson, and Gesicki goes. So that's where we find ourselves.
I'm just going to drink my beer and let you do what you want.
You know what? I'm going to make a case here for Dawson Knox. 3-year extension, randomly sun runs touchdowns, leverage off of Kincaid, randomly catches 2 touchdowns regularly, and gets drafted less often than Colby Parkinson. So from a uniqueness standpoint, we're leverage on any other Josh Allen, Shakir, Coleman, or more stacks. Why the F not? We're just looking for 2 touchdowns. You know who catches 2 touchdowns? A Bills guy. So that's what I hear. But I think this team turned out pretty good.
Yeah. Would you mind doing the recap for the audio listener? Because as people might be aware, we are fully back on all podcast platforms. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, you can find us on Spotify, and of course, whilst you're downloading these, I trust that the good people who've made it an hour and a 5 into a best ball draft on a podcast platform will have left us a review.
We love you, viewer. We love you, listener. 2783. This team smashing, if I can use a little bit of old school UK slang. Josh Allen at pick 33, a little bit of value. Lamar Jackson, pick 57, a little bit of value. So we go double elite quarterback while talking about it. Then we go Kenneth Walker, Rico Dowdle, Kenneth Gainwell. So the double Kenneth correlation. No one's talking about it. You heard it here first, folks. Chris Rodriguez, Keaton Mitchell, pulling up 2 guys who signed pretty good deals yesterday and today. Brian Robinson and Sean Tucker. So just taking a couple other stabs, 2 shots at the Tampa Bay backfield, 1 shot at potentially the Seattle backfield. Brian Robinson was mentioned earlier in the tampering period. So yet to be signed free agent, just taking shots in the dark. 7 running backs feels pretty good. The Sun God himself, Amon-Ra, Rashee Rice, 7-pick discount. Mekhi Lemon, slightly after ADP. Jordan Tyson, a full round and a half after ADP. Jawan Jennings after ADP. Casey Concepcion around after ADP. Isaac Tesla to double up our Detroit Lions bet. Keenan Allen as the chaperone to these young, deadly round 1 wide receivers. Kyle Pitts, a round and a half after ADP. Eli Stowers, the next coming of Kyle Pitts, many are saying. And Dawson, why not Knox to stack up our Josh Allen bet? So naked Lamar for now and single stack Josh Allen. How do you feel, Tom?
I feel pretty good about it. I think definitely the double elite quarterback build is always something it's hard to land. It's always tricky. Could you pull up the draft board and it'd just be interesting to see if you could zoom out a little on it. If we didn't go Lamar, what's kind of like the 2v2 that we could have done there instead? Like,
it certainly seemed like we were going Tate. It seemed like we were going to go Tate or Marv or Moore right at 57. One of those receivers sounded like was the target there. And then, Mahomes at ADP around, Mahomes goes. So it would have been Mahomes at 81. So it would have been it's Lamar and Tyson versus Tate and Mahomes. Feels like
it's
a wash.
Pretty interchangeable, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, but healthy Mahomes feels like a wash. Mahomes coming off ACL and LCL.
Yeah.
And with this offensive line, I'm not going to let's not even kid ourselves that the ceiling cases are even remotely close, full season and single week. The rushing from Mahomes is going to have to be docked quite a bit for the first 6 to 8 weeks of the season. Otherwise, we keep pushing it. Most likely we target Goff here in this range. Who goes 117. So what we take Goff instead of Pitts. And so it's Goff Tate versus Jackson Pitts. So still the 2v2 feels pretty solid.
I think, I'd rather be on the Lamar side of that one. I think obviously for the stat for Goff, you get those nice kind of weeks and he's a good quarterback, obviously. But I think that's not enough to push me away from Lamar.
No. And someone to wrap up the point on Pollard, I still think that it was pretty concerning that Tajay Spears coming off of a high ankle sprain that's basically sat him on the sidelines for 6 to 8 weeks, looked incredibly more explosive than Tony Pollard, who finally got going late. I think that was more the offensive line and the quarterbacks finally got some chemistry, some rhythm, and he was finally just able to have a little bit of running room. He's such a plotting B-Rob type that needs volume to matter. And Jaylen Warren still going in the 70s, I think is very wrong. He has to come down to more of that, like, you know, 8, 9, 10 round that we've done with Najee and Warren previously. I expect Rodgers to sign with the Steelers pretty soon. His only other out is being the third quarterback in Arizona if they decide that they're going to try randomly. But it sure feels like a reunion with Mike McCarthy is in the cards, which raises the floor for the running backs. And Warren could spam the Kenny Gainwell targets, certainly, but that's a lot of projection for, you know, Rico did get a good amount of money, and Mike McCarthy does know him very well. So at minimum, you know, they need to be closer together in price. So I'm avoiding Warren, who I was taking heavily. I still like him from the pass catching, but it's a tough price when I can arbitrage him with Rico and Gainwell, you know, 1, 2, 3 rounds later.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, look, this was a really fun team. There's a lot of good stuff on it, and I think it's definitely a unique build. And I'm excited to see kind of how this one does, whether it can progress and whether it can be any good. Look, there's still plenty of time for things to be drafted. If you are not already, hit that subscribe button, because next week Rich starts diving into rookies one by one. Rich's rookie videos are always so good. We'll have plenty of highlights, slick graphics as always, plastered all over them. Tyler, I know you'll be back in a couple hours' time at 8 o'clock tonight for the Toxic Tower members only stream. We'll be back next Thursday. Truly appreciate everybody hanging out with us tonight. Make sure you hit that like button on the way out.